Last week, we continued our series on 10 best cloud practices for the modern enterprise. This week, we will discuss using identity as a foundational security layer to mitigate vulnerabilities through principles like just-in-time JIT access and adaptive controls. In the modern threat landscape, identity is the new perimeter. The vast majority of successful cyber attacks, particularly in the cloud, involve the compromise and misuse of legitimate user credentials. Therefore, identity and access management (IAM) can no longer be viewed as a separate, siloed administrative function. It must be treated as a primary, dynamic security control plane that is deeply integrated into the vulnerability remediation strategy. A software vulnerability on a given system represents a potential weakness. However, the actual risk posed by that vulnerability is magnified exponentially when that system can be accessed by an account with high-level privileges. By implementing a robust IAM strategy centered on the principles of zero trust, organizations can dramatically reduce the likelihood of a vulnerability being successfully exploited, effectively creating a virtual patch that buys time for proper remediation. This integration represents a critical shift in security thinking. Instead of viewing vulnerability management and IAM as separate disciplines, a mature program understands their symbiotic relationship. Strong IAM controls act as a powerful compensating control for unpatched vulnerabilities, while a device's vulnerability posture can, in turn, inform real-time access decisions. This holistic approach is essential for preventing data breaches, as it addresses both the how, the vulnerability, and the who, the identity of a potential attack. Principle of least privilege (POLP). The foundational concept of a secure IAM strategy is the principle of least privilege. This principle dictates that users, applications, and services should be granted only the minimum level of access and permissions necessary to perform their required functions. By strictly enforcing POLP, organizations can significantly limit the blast radius of a compromised account. If an attacker gains control of a standard user account, least privilege ensures they cannot immediately access sensitive systems or escalate their privileges, thwarting lateral movement and containing the breach at its earliest stage. This requires moving away from broad, generic roles and toward finely grained, role-based access control (RBAC). Just-in-time JIT and just-enough access (G). JIT and G are the practical implementations of the least privilege principle for administrative and other high-impact roles. The goal is to eliminate standing or persistent privileged access, which is a primary target for attackers. Just-in-time JIT access. Instead of accounts having permanent administrative rights, privileges are granted on demand for a limited time and only after a formal request and approval process. The access automatically expires after a set period. Just enough access (G). This concept complements JIT by ensuring that when privileged access is granted, it is scoped only to the specific resources and actions required for the task at hand. Adaptive, risk-based conditional access. Modern IAM moves beyond static access policies to a dynamic, adaptive model. This involves using a policy engine that evaluates a rich set of real-time signals to make intelligent access decisions at the moment of login. These signals can include user risk. Is the user signing in from a known malicious IP address or exhibiting anomalous behavior? Device compliance. Is the device fully patched, running up-to-date antivirus software, and compliant with corporate security policies? Location. Is the access request coming from an expected geographic location? Application. Is the user attempting to access a highly sensitive application? Based on the calculated risk of the access attempt, the policy can allow access, require a step-up authentication challenge like MFA, limit the session, for example, block downloads, or block access entirely. This creates a direct link between a device's vulnerability posture and its ability to access corporate resources. IAM hygiene. Just like any other system, the IAM infrastructure itself can have vulnerabilities. Effective EM hygiene involves continuously identifying and remediating these weaknesses, which can include overly permissive roles, dormant or orphaned accounts with lingering access, misconfigured SSO integrations, and incomplete user deprovisioning workflows. An EM assessment is a critical tool for uncovering these hidden but dangerous gaps. Microsoft Entra serves as a comprehensive identity and access management solution that enables organizations to implement these advanced EM controls as a core part of their security strategy. Microsoft Entra Privileged Identity Management PIM. PIM allows organizations to discover and monitor privileged access, identify all users with privileged roles, and monitor their activity. Enforce JIT activation. Move users from being permanent admins to being eligible for a role. To use the role, the user must go through a time-bound activation process that can require justification, an approval workflow from a designated manager, and mandatory MFA. Assign time-bound access. Grant privilege roles that are only active for a specific duration, for example, for a 3-month project, after which the access is automatically revoked. By eliminating standing administrative access, PIM drastically reduces the attack surface and mitigates the risk of privilege escalation. Microsoft Entra Conditional Access. Conditional access is the intelligent policy engine at the heart of Microsoft's Zero Trust architecture. It is the mechanism that enforces adaptive, risk-based access control. With conditional access, organizations can create granular policies that connect security posture to access rights. For example, a policy can be configured to require MFA for all administrative role activations. Block access to critical applications from any device that is not marked as compliant by an endpoint management solution like Microsoft Intune. A device can be marked as non-compliant if it is missing critical security patches, thus directly using its vulnerability status as an access control gate. Enforce phishing-resistant authentication methods for users accessing sensitive data. Block sign-ins deemed risky by Microsoft Entra ID protection, such as those from anonymous IP addresses or showing signs of credential theft. This capability to make real-time access decisions based on device health is a powerful way to mitigate the risk of vulnerability exploitation. The device is prevented from accessing sensitive resources until it is remediate, effectively containing the threat. Administrators must remain vigilant, as sophisticated attacks can still attempt to bypass these controls, such as by exploiting guest account subscription transfer vulnerabilities or authentication flaws like OAuth. This underscores the need for continuous monitoring and proper configuration of all AM controls.